Welcome to the next episode of the Iowa Girls Wrestling Stories podcast. Today I have three-time state qualifier and two-time state place winner from Cedar Falls, Apryl Halsor. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good.
And you said you're on spring break, so any big things going on spring break this week?
No, not really. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just working and we have open mats 2 times a week, so I'll be going to those.
Very nice. I wanted everybody to know how freaking awesome we are together as a coaching team. We are undefeated at the AAU state tournament. And, so I'm thinking that when you're all done with all your schooling, that you should probably come to Ridgeview and put on that orange and black and coach with me or just take over. How's that sound?
I don't know. I think Allie would kill me.
Oh no, we don't consult Allie on anything. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So let's just get started. Let's talk about that Cedar Falls team. We like to refer to it, Jason Lloyd and I, as the Red Army, because when you guys get off the bus, it's like having a whole Red Army show up at your place. And I've been in that opposite corner when all 50 of you girls are sitting there yelling and screaming, and it is actually pretty intimidating. You guys do a good job. What's the team like? What's it like to be on that team?
Well, I would say it's pretty incredible. I mean, our girls have such a strong bond, and even after season, when it's the off season and we're not seeing each other daily like we are in season, uh, we're still connecting with each other, still talking with each other. Like yesterday, we had an open mat, and even girls who weren't going to be wrestling in the open mat, they still came, still talked to people, and just kind of just hanging out and just staying in touch with each other. That's really what builds the bond.
That's really cool. And you got some pretty decent coaches.
Mhm.
I kind of like that Alley girl. She's all right. Let's go through your coaching staff and kind of we'll leave the guy that lives in your house last. How's that sound?
All
What's
right.
it like having Allie on as a coach?
Okay. Well, Allie is amazing. And I've noticed something personally when I was at AAU State, how differently girls react to female coaches. That was
Hmm.
something that like really clicked with me, especially since Allie's so close to our age. I mean, she just turned 23, I believe, last August, and she's still so young and she advocates for the sport so well. And it's such a difference seeing how girls react to a female coach in comparison to a male coach. And I think that's what really makes her stand out in being one of the best coaches in the state because she can connect with her wrestlers a lot easier than male coaches, especially since she's younger and she's been in the sport more recently than a lot of the coaches. I mean, she wrestled in 2020 and I mean, she's only been out of the sport competing for 5 years. So, I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I never did compete in girls wrestling ever. So yeah, you're right. You girls do react to her differently, and I know that, and that's why, I keep advocating to get me more girls in the coaching and stuff. You got some pretty awesome assistants too, though. I know Dan sticks around every once in a while. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about your assistants and maybe who's connected with you and stuff you've learned from them?
All right, so let's go down the list here. We'll go with Jim Witt. He's Lauren's dad.
Yep.
He's Lauren's dad. And I would say he's been a really big help when it comes to like breaking down technique and stuff. His son Dylan was in the Cedar Falls program, so he's been around the Cedar Falls program for a while. Uh, he knows his stuff. He definitely
Hmm.
knows his stuff, and he knows how to work with the girls in ways of just breaking down moves and seeing it from a different angle, which I really enjoyed. He was really helpful along those lines and along with pushing us.
Does
Um,
his son wrestle for Grandview? Is that
yes.
right? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yep. I had
Yeah.
some nice conversations with him this last week or a couple weekends ago now, I guess it is.
Yep. He was at nationals or is competing in nationals. I don't know. Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, he coaches Lauren, and it's really incredible to have two dads on the team with their wrestlers. It's kind of fun to see how different he and Lauren work together, and then me and my dad work together.
Yeah.
So kind of fun going back and forth. Then we have a new addition, and he says he's not coming back next year, but we'll see about that, which is Dan Knipp. He coached for Columbus. His son was a two-timer, Mason Knipp. He worked with Max Magana. all 3 years he's at Columbus. So I mean, he's got the knowledge. He's pretty
Uh-huh.
knowledgeable, and he's worked really well with our upper weights because we don't really have an upper weight coach. I mean, Jim and Greg, they didn't really wrestle upper weights. Even Dan, he didn't wrestle like other
Yep.
Dan didn't
Yep.
wrestle
Yep.
upper weight back in high school. And of course, Allie, she wrestled 106. So having an upper weight specialist was really helpful. And I saw that throughout the season. I mean, he really helped Briar out, and along with like Ellie and Maddie Metz, they were also pretty connected with Dan because he had that intelligence of what happens with heavyweights because they wrestle so differently than
Oh
lightweight.
yeah. Yeah, they do. I was not a heavyweight either. I wrestled at 142 in college, so you know, learning those things is difficult, and I would say that's probably one of the toughest things with girls wrestling, because girls wrestle different than boys too. You
Mm-hmm.
know, honestly, girls above about 130, 135 kind of wrestle more in that throw and those types of things. So, you know, having that coach with that experience is really awesome. And then Dan, Waterloo Dan.
Yes, Dan Level.
Yes.
He joined us last year. It was kind of just getting his toes in the water for women's wrestling, kind of seeing what it's like, and he really enjoyed it. I could tell. I mean, our team's so inviting, and we're so different. There's a lot of us, and we ask a lot
Yeah.
of questions, and there's a lot to handle with the entire team because we can get pretty rowdy and rambunctious.
I
But yeah,
I
but
know
he
that
was
for a fact. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but he kind of saw how our team operated, and I think he's using some of what Allie taught him, even though she's younger than him. Like she taught him how women's wrestling works, and now he's the coach at Hawkeye for both the women's and the men's team. And I think he's incorporating some of that into what he's teaching. So
Yeah.
that's pretty incredible to have him working with us.
Yeah,
So
he's really knowledgeable. I've had conversations with him. He's done the podcast actually. He's really knowledgeable guy. You know, and you say that people learning from Allie and stuff. I don't know how many things I've picked up from her. You know, I'm 54, so I'm 31 years older than Allie. But there's every time I'm around her and we're in practices and stuff, I pick stuff up from her. And those are the important things. And I'm hoping more of the male coaches start seeing those little differences that we need to start doing
mhm,
to build teams like you have. You know, I mean,
yeah.
I try those things all the time that she does, and it's really helpful. So now let's go to Dad. What's it like having Dad as a coach on the team?
It was a lot of fun. It was very stressful for him, I could tell. He used to tell me that the most stressful matches that he had was watching mine because I'm his daughter and he just like
Yep.
felt so much pressure on it. But after after my junior season, he kind of relaxed a bit. Going into my senior season, he knew how much work I put in and how much effort we did in the off season. He knew that I was in pretty good shape, so he didn't have to worry as much, but I could still tell that he was pretty stressed.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
I know those because like Jason Shepard's coaches with me, and then Diana Warner's her daughter Dania also wrestled, and they both said this year's been so much different for them because they're not emotionally attached to the wrestler. I mean, everybody we're emotionally attached, but not as a parent, you
yeah,
know, so they can separate that out a little bit. So it's been a lot easier on them. So maybe your dad will relax a little bit next year and he won't have a heart attack or anything. So that would be good.
yeah. I don't know. He still gets pretty worked up about the other girls. Even during AAU state, while I was down there, he had all the matches streaming. He was watching.
Oh, we got so rudely interrupted by my computer or Zoom, one of the two. We were just talking about dad and him watching all the matches at AAU State. Go ahead and go from there.
All right. So, like I said, he was watching all the matches at AAU State, seeing like what the other girls were doing and what our girls were doing, and he likes to be updated on everything like that. And I would say his connection with the team is pretty good. I mean, our girls, they really enjoyed him as a coach. He does run our open mats in the summertime and working with girls through that a lot through the freestyle season. He doesn't do any coaching in the off season, but he does run the open mats. I help him with
Nice.
that. And yeah,
Nice.
I mean, the girls, he's like teased the idea of not coming back because he's not quite sure, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna stay with the girls at least for a few more years.
Yeah, I've had some pretty good conversations with your dad. Really neat guy, very intelligent person, very intelligent person and stuff. And he was a pretty solid wrestler himself, wasn't he? If I remember right,
Yep.
wasn't he a state champion?
Yeah, he was a state champion in 93, I think. 92 or
93.
93, somewhere around there. He's old.
Gotcha. Oh, he's a young pup compared to me. I was getting out of college in 93 when he was winning his state titles. So, um, I know that you talk about the team bonding. I watch the TikToks and all those fun things. You guys do a lot of fun stuff like that. But Allie brought up this spaghetti toes thing to me. Can you explain spaghetti toes? I'm just lost.
All right. So spaghetti toes has been something that Allie's always had in our program. And she said she did it back when she was a wrestler. Her dad played it for her and her team. Uh, so basically, it's this recording on YouTube that is like 12 minutes long, and we shut off all the lights in the wrestling room. We always do it right before competition. So the day before, after our pre-meet, when we're all sweaty and dying, we turn off all the lights, lay on our backs, close our eyes, and then Spaghetti Toes plays. And it's this very monotone voice that goes, Spaghetti Toes, and goes through your toes to your legs to your arms. And then it just goes. And then we sit in silence for like a minute, and you get up, flick all the lights on, everyone groans because you're used to the darkness, and then the lights pop back on, and then we go through what the next day is going to look like.
Nice. Something you guys just have done. Actually, my high school coach used to do something like that back in the day too. Relaxation drill, Rob, is what it is. So that's kind of cool. Um, you started wrestling kind of late, really. You didn't start until it got sanctioned. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did Dad not want you to be wrestling boys, or did you not want to wrestle boys?
Well, wrestling wasn't really something that like we talked about as like girls wrestling. I mean, it was always big in our house. I mean, my dad's state bracket hangs right outside my door. In my old house that I used to live in, we had mats in the basement. My brother wrestled for Waverly. He was the varsity 106. Uh, so it's always been around our house. And I mean, we always had wrestling going on upstairs. We'd watch Iowa wrestle, nationals, stuff like that. But it wasn't really something that I really got into. It wasn't until, gosh, after it got sanctioned, Natalie Blake, who is our 100 pounder or was our 100 pounder, asked, she was like, we should go to a wrestling open mat as a complete joke. It was a complete joke to us, and we were like, okay, yeah, let's give wrestling a try, because we were both runners, and it was just an off season thing, that just to give it a shot. And we went to a few open mats, and Allie, she hooked us in. She's really good at that, at convincing people to stay in the sport. She's like, oh
Yeah.
no, just keep coming back, it's fine, it's fine. And we just liked the environment and kept coming back, and we just, it was just how it was. And first competition rolled around, it was up in Decorah, and did pretty good, and just it was history from then.
Yeah. And so, a lot of people like to see, they see people with a medal around their neck on a podium at state and or winning this tournament. But how much work did you have to put in that short 3 years? I gotta bet that you put a lot of effort into that. What are some of the things you did to prepare yourself for this last year?
Well, so the first season that I had, sophomore season, I I didn't think much of it. We didn't really do much extra work, my dad and I, because it was just a fun fling. I was a runner at the time, and that's what I thought I was gonna do. But turns out I was actually pretty good at it. And after my sophomore season, after I qualified for state and lost in the bloods at state, my dad brought up the idea of doing some off-season practice and stuff, and I gave some clubs a try, but I wasn't really the biggest fan of, I don't know, just other clubs and coaching, because I didn't want to make wrestling my life. Like
Uh-huh.
some people, wrestling is their life. It wasn't for me. I had about a billion other things on my plate to do, and I wanted to still have some me time. So we kind of just sectioned off an hour and a half on Sundays, and then later in the week we'd do Thursdays for an hour and just kind of get together. And that's what we'd kind of do just with the team. And that's what I made wrestling. I made it like I sectioned off like 2.5 hours a week during my off season, and that was it. I didn't want any more with it. And then I did a couple freestyle tournaments my sophomore year. I qualified for Fargo, went to Fargo, and that was a lot of like just experiencing wrestling. And I think that's kind of what made me really love the sport in the end, was that I didn't have it like consume me. I
Hmm.
wanted to keep it fun still. I mean, I did, what was it, I did like the junior Olympics, and um like I know a couple of my teammates did conflict for charity and stuff like that. So we kept it light, and it wasn't like a whole like pressure thing on us. Like I knew I wasn't gonna place at Fargo my sophomore year. Like that wasn't something that I was too concerned about. Like it was
Uh-huh.
just to have fun, get good matches in. And then junior year, rolling around, rolling into season, my dad and I put in a little extra practice because Allie makes us fill out goal packets at the start of the season, and if we don't fill them out, we have monkey rolls. So you fill out your goal packet, and one thing is like, what do you want to see at the end of the year? And mine was I wanted to place at state. My junior year, I wanted to place at state. I mean, I was only two rounds away from placing the year before, so I knew I'd gained some good experience, but I wanted to further that. And to get to that point, getting closer to state, I mean, my dad and I, we stayed after practice more, just working on the small things, setups, shots, uh, over like Christmas break, Thanksgiving break. We just worked at the gym, practice, stuff like that, just a little bit every day to get better. And I think that really helped me out, especially leading up to state. And that's kind of what helped with the third place push. And
Hmm.
then coming into my senior season, I worked a lot more. Um, I still was doing the 2.5 hours a week. Like I said, I never really wanted to make wrestling my whole life. I wanted to keep the fun in it and have wrestling be a side thing, and just still having it be my sport, but not having it just consume me. I've known a lot of girls who they're wrestling 6 times a week in the off season. And I just didn't have the time for that. And I didn't
Yeah.
want to have the time for it. I still wanted to just be April and have my own thing to do. But I still did practice a lot more, and I wanted to be involved a bit more. Um, but like I said, I really wanted to keep it still fun. And in the off season, I didn't want my dad coming to tournaments. When I did freestyle tournaments, it was me and Anna Johnson. She was our 170.
Hmm.
And sometimes we'd have a few other girls tag along, and we would just drive up to Osage, or where else did we go? We went to Charles City, I think, or maybe it was Mason City, one of the places up there. And we just would go to freestyle tournaments. Sometimes we'd go 0 and 2. Sometimes we'd make it to the finals. Who knows? We just wrestle, and then we'd go get food afterwards. We wouldn't
Nice.
worry about weighing in or anything. We just show up whatever weight we were and just have a good old time. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Do you put a lot of time in the weight room, even with your
no,
other sports too? No. Okay, I just curious, just curious.
no, you cannot catch me in the weight room. I am not a weight lifter.
Wow. All right. But you're a runner.
Yep,
You
yep.
so what are you cross country?
I did
Are
do cross country and I did do track, but after my sophomore year, I quit because I kept getting hurt.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
funny enough, I've had more injuries in cross country and track than I did with wrestling.
I
Uh,
believe that.
Yep. The only really injury I had was last summer at Fargo. I ended very sadly my Fargo trip with a set of broken ribs. That
Ooh.
wasn't fun. So,
No, not that doesn't sound like fun at all. No. Um, so obviously this year placed second, which is pretty awesome. And I love the fact that you said you didn't want wrestling to be your whole identity, because I'm going to tell you, when I was done with my college, I kind of felt like it was my whole identity. So I'm glad you're able to separate that. Um, what was, I know you struggled a little bit after state, just a little bit, but you seem like you're doing just fine right now.
Yeah.
Um, what were, I mean, I know you work so hard for a goal, work so hard for a goal, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm actually going with this, other than, that medal around your neck doesn't change you any bit. It's all the work you put in up to that. So you were already a champion when you walked into that mat. Um, what's helped you get over just, that loss, but realize that, it wasn't that big a deal?
Um, this is gonna sound like probably really mean, but I always put it in comparison of I've been wrestling for 3 years. They've been wrestling their entire lives.
Yep.
So
Yep.
like
Good. Yeah. You
that's
have a great attitude.
yeah,
I,
that's how I really view it. That's how it's helped me kind of get over it of this isn't gonna be my life. I'm not wrestling in college. This was a sport I joined as a joke and I ended up doing pretty well and I enjoyed my time doing it.
that's
And I
awesome.
beat people who I shouldn't have beat. So
Well, you put the effort in and you did a good job. Um, so I talk to girls a lot about coaching, officiating. Do you see yourself coming back to the sport? I know you got plans for yourself, but do you see yourself coming back in any way, shape, or form later on?
yeah, I'd like to coach. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm moving out to Montana, so I'd like to kind of be like the Allie Jabrock out in Montana for girls out there. But if I come back to Iowa, I'd probably just join the Cedar Falls team again, and I know Allie would be happy to have me.
Yeah.
Uh, but competing wise, no. Refing wise, no. But yeah, coaching wise, I think so.
I do have some connections in Montana, so when you get out there, you let me know where you're at, and I'll hook you up. Because I have across the state, I know some different people out there, which is really cool. Um, I want to get to know you better, just as a person, as April. And Allie said you work at a bike shop.
I
So
do.
how's the job? What do you all get to do there?
Um, Well, I've been working there for 3 years now. I've really enjoyed it. I really like working with my hands. I also work on a farm. So I don't know, I just like use my hands and my brain to kind of think. I really like my employees, not employees, gosh, my
Your
coworkers.
coworkers?
Yeah.
Someday they'll be your
The other
employees.
employees, yeah. Um, yeah, and we just have a grand old time, listen to 80s, 90s music and fix bikes, and it's just something I've enjoyed doing. So
Very nice. Do you bike yourself
I
then?
do.
Do
Yeah,
you have a pretty nice bike?
I do.
I bet
Yeah.
so. I have a friend in Colorado who he does road biking, and he was on a team for a long time, and then did mountain biking also. And when he told me how much his bike cost, I was like, "Are you kidding? You can buy a car for that."
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
crazy. But no, if you enjoy it, that's awesome. And so you're pretty good at putting these bikes together.
Yep. I have started doing some more repairs on them. I build bikes. Of course, I sell them and stuff like that. And my boss, he's been really helpful with kind of teaching me the ways of how to repair them and kind of getting them back into shape. So that's been nice to do.
What kind of bikes are you guys selling? Are you like Trek dealer? I mean, I don't know. I don't know a whole
Uh,
lot of them.
yeah, I mean, we do Giant, we do Gazelles, we do Salsas. We just started carrying Pinarellos. So yeah, and I mean we've done Specialized in the past and we can still get some in. So yeah. And then we
So
do
you're
recumbents as well.
you're not hitting the Huffy then, huh? I also found out that you might be obsessed with Instagram Reels, and that you watch some really odd things. So what are you watching on Instagram that Allie brings this up to me, that you watch some really odd stuff?
Well, it's kind of just whatever comes across my Instagram reels. For the most part, during the season, I'd like to say that I draw the most attention with the team when it comes to my odd Instagram reels, like for you page. And kind of just gather around in a circle and scroll through whatever pops up on my phone.
So
There's
what are some of these odd things that pop up on your phone? She told me,
it's
and I
hard
like,
to it's hard to explain the brain rot basically.
okay,
It's just stupid videos. I don't know. Just I don't know how to explain it. It's just really dumb videos that I
but
enjoy.
that's
So
what you love, huh?
yeah.
The dumb videos. You did mention you're going to Montana, and I found this out about you that you want to be a park ranger. So, was your inspiration Yogi Bear or Brickleberry?
Um, neither.
Neither. Ah,
I've always really loved the national parks and stuff like that, just being outdoors. I'm actually going to be a range land manager, so
ooh,
more of grazing land for cattle and wild horses, stuff like that. But yeah, I'd love to work in the national parks as well, kind of seeing what there is to offer and kind of protect the land that we're given. So
very nice. So, where are you going to go to school?
Montana State,
Montana. Which one is that?
that
Where
one's
are you at?
in Bozeman.
Bozeman. Okay.
Mhm.
I've
Yep.
I've I've been to Billings. I've been to quite a few places out there. I'm trying to think where we had nationals one year. Butte. I've been to Butte, some of those. So I'll have to look up Bozeman and see where that's at. That's pretty cool. They have some good wrestling out there. You never know. You might end up getting stuck back on a team somewhere.
I don't know.
Um,
Bozeman actually, Montana State actually doesn't have a wrestling team, which I was really sad to hear about. Not even
really?
for men. So
Wow. I well, when I was in college, I was an NAI wrestler, and we went out to Butte, Montana twice. And there's some really good wrestling out in Montana. There's some really good
yeah,
schools out there, so
yeah.
you might be able to catch a match here or there somewhere and get to watch some. Allie also told me that you have kind of some odd music tastes, and maybe it's the 80s and 90s, and she just doesn't know because she's too young and doesn't get it. What genre of music do you like the best?
Um, I really like my 80s and 90s. I'm gonna guess what she's referring to is my Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Oh, what's wrong with Sir Mix-a-Lot,
That's what
man?
I'm saying. Yeah, because
Which
I'm in charge of
what's your
music for open mats, and
uh-huh.
I put on my 80s, 90s kind of my weird rock that I put on, and Sir Mix-a-Lot's probably one of my favorites. So
What's your favorite Sir Mix-a-Lot song then?
Chief Boot Naka.
Nice. See, you're talking my age group of music and stuff. That's all right. It's just Allie's weird. It's not you.
Yeah.
Well, we know Allie's weird. That's all right. So, do you listen to music prior to matches?
I only started to this year, but really beforehand, no. So,
What songs did you listen to this year before matches? Did you have a pre-match song that you always listen to, or was it just whatever's on?
I had a playlist that kind of just consisted of Sir Mix-a-Lot, Megan Thee Stallion, stuff like that, Cardi B, but yeah,
Gotcha.
mainly upbeat stuff. Though I do have to say, before my finals match, I listened to the Chief Boot Naka album by Sir Mix-a-Lot.
There you
So,
go. That's awesome. That's awesome. So while we're talking about that, do you have a pre-match ritual that you do some, are you a superstitious person? Do you have things that you have to do or not?
I wouldn't say I'm superstitious, though I do have OCD about like what I do in order the night before.
Uh-huh.
So like it's a specific routine that I have, and my dad has it as well. Every night before a match, we have to like go through our own specific routines. So when I get home, I have to pack my food for the next day. I have to listen to certain music. I have to go to bed by a certain time. So it's very organized the night before, but nothing on match day.
Nothing on match day. Do you like actually do you go through your clothes like 5 or 6 times to make sure you have everything? Because
Oh, yeah, I
I
have a
would
checklist
pack.
on my phone. Yeah, I have to have a
Gotcha.
checklist on my phone, make sure I pack that, I pack that, I pack that. And like, even though I've done it for 3 years, I have to make sure my shoes are in my bag, my knee pads are in my bag, my like everything's in my bag. I like it's in there. I have my water bottle filled, there's ice in it, like stuff like that.
How many times do you check it?
Two or three.
2 or 3? Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
and
I think.
even when like getting on the bus, I'm like, oh, did I bring my shoes? Did I bring them? And then when I have to sit down, I'm like, okay, I brought my shoes. I brought my shoes.
Very good. Um, I've been asking because we have a meeting coming up, both Allie and I here shortly, and I believe for both of us it might be our last time we're going to the girls' union meeting because I think our terms are up. But the Iowa Girls State Tournament. Any thoughts on the whole tournament as a whole? Actually, I had a question. It popped up in my head when you were talking. Since the first year to this year, even though we split into classes, I felt like the tournament was tougher this year. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it definitely separated the competition. I do have to say the 1A girls were good competition. I did enjoy wrestling them when it wasn't at the state tournament just to just have different people wrestling. Cause I mean, sometimes those smaller schools can have the most powerhouse wrestlers. Osage, for example, I mean, the
Yeah,
Heenan sisters, they're just incredible wrestlers. So, uh, not having them, it kind of just separated just how hard it was. But I mean, you're also wrestling the bigger schools. And so I think that was more of a challenge.
yeah. I felt like the tournament was really tough this year.
Mm-hmm.
It just maybe it was just how we wrestled. Maybe we didn't wrestle very well this year, but we had a couple place winners, so that wasn't bad. But it just seemed like, man, it was a tough tournament. I don't think it watered the down. Doing two classes watered anything down. Is there anything that you would change as an athlete about the tournament? Because I know they're very much about the athlete experience.
Yes, definitely. I would say the podium. Don't put the podium right after you wrestle because I was standing on the podium just
Ooh.
sobbing. And that was the case for a lot of other girls too. So
Yeah.
I would say don't put the podium like 10 minutes after they wrestle. We need some time to recuperate, okay?
I will bring that up because I always liked it the 2 years or the years prior when they waited to the very end.
Yeah.
The reason I know that they did that originally is the year before sanctioning, they were watching Olivia Huckfelt wrestle, and I don't remember even who she was wrestling that year, but there was hardly anybody left in the stands because everybody had already got their medals and took off by the time
Yeah.
heavyweight wrestled. So I think they saw that, but then it does get long at the end. So maybe they
Yeah.
need to figure out a way to split that up a little bit better. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe if they split it in half and then moved on, because then I would at least give you 5 or 6 people ahead of yourself, even if you're the last one, to
Yeah. I
wipe them
I would
tears.
agree. I think that'd be a good idea. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of the girls, including myself, because they had a camera and the camera would go up to every girl, and I was just standing there. I'm like, don't look at me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you remember the year prior with Tatum and Izzy, and our my whole team was just a ball and mess the whole time. So I get it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I they didn't really want their picture taken either. So
yeah. I mean, I was sitting out there. I'm like, don't like let me have a second. Let me have a second. And then the photographer was like, up here, look up here. I'm like, no.
yeah. Do you like signing your bracket?
Um, I did. Yeah, I thought it was fun. Though I would like it'd be cool if we had like one that we signed and then one was actually like professionally written out.
Uh-huh.
I think it just looks nicer. I mean, I have my dad's bracket right outside my door, and seeing that it says just like G Halsor on it and like this
Uh-huh.
nice curly lettering, I think that just looks nice in
Yeah.
comparison to like kind of sloppy handwriting,
Well, I couldn't
especially if
imagine.
it's other people's.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine trying to sign my name after a match when my hands are like this and I'm trying to sign it. I've always kind of wondered that. I think it's kind of a cool idea, but I do also like your idea there of maybe see two good ideas to do there. Do you think a dual state tournament would be something
Oh
awesome?
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I would say Cedar Falls is a very strong dual team.
Mm-hmm.
We get very loud and
Yep.
we get very rowdy.
Yep.
Uh,
I will
but I
agree
would
with all
say
those
yes.
things.
Yeah. A girls' state duel would be nice,
Yeah.
especially because the guys have had it and we can do as much as them.
Yeah,
So
I think duels grow the sport faster.
mhm.
I think that allows those people, even if you're not the top person on your team, if you're involved in that, you still feel part of it.
Yeah.
And I think duels are super important. Let me see. Is there anything that you absolutely hated about the girls' state tournament this year?
Uh, Not really. I mean, I had it nice because we had the morning session and we didn't have to
Hmm.
wait to weigh in. So I did like that, but I'm not sure how 2A felt about it. So,
Yeah. Yes. So I'm going to go through just some more questions on getting to know April. And I think these are I love this part of the thing because I really actually do like to get to know people better. I've known you for 3 years, but we really don't know each other, right? I
mhm.
mean, I give Cedar Falls a hard time. Allie gives us a hard time. It's fun. It's always fun, and it's lighthearted, and we're good competitors, but we're also friendly about it. But I think it's fun to just get to know people. And I'll start super easy. Favorite color?
Green.
Green. You're not a you're
Green.
I figured you'd be a red person. Green.
No.
What color green? Which green? Which if we got the box of 128 Crayolas with the sharpener, what green am I gonna pick out?
Sage green.
Sage green.
Yes.
Okay. I kind of not really light, but not really dark green.
Mhm.
Kind of right there in the middle.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have a favorite pair of wrestling shoes that you wore?
Yes, my Rudis Lady Liberties.
Lady Liberties, huh?
Yes. Uh, I wore them my junior year, all through my junior year. They were my practice shoes and then my competition shoes. And then this year I retired them to just straight competition because they have a hole in the bottom of them.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, if you get the pair of shoes that works right for you, it's
Mhm.
important. You might have guessed that I like shoes, by some of the things that I wear. Are you a shoe person too? No,
No,
you're not.
not
Not at
really.
all.
No.
You'd rather have a nice bike than a pair of shoes, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. So you mentioned before, after weigh-in, eating or your freestyle, being able to eat the whole time. What's some of your favorite foods, your guilty pleasure foods?
I have quite a bit of a sweet tooth. So anything with chocolate and peanut butter in it, I'd say is my go-to. Cookie dough. I love cookie dough. That was like the first thing I ate when I got home after wrestling season was just a bunch of cookie dough.
What's
Like
your favorite cookie dough? Which
just
are you?
chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. I'm a
Yep.
sugar cookie guy. I like chocolate chip cookies without the chocolate chips in them. Does that make
Oh,
sense? Have
yeah.
you ever made, you know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
the soft gooey. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, what what do you eat after weigh-ins?
After weigh-ins, well, we usually have like this giant bucket of food. I mean, if you've seen us pull up to wrestling tournaments, you've seen the giant bins. But personally, me, I always loved mangoes. I had my mangoes. I love my mangoes and pineapple. Yep. Mangoes and
Like a lot of,
pineapple were like the big ones for me. And then I'd have overnight oats as well.
oh,
So,
nice. That's a really good idea. That's good plans. Fruit, good
mhm.
quick burn and stuff, and then the oats. That's awesome. Is there something you absolutely will not eat?
um, when I'm competing or just in general?
Just in general, is there something you like? No, I'm not having that.
Pickles. I won't eat
Pickles.
pickles. Uh-uh.
Oh my God, what is wrong with you? Pickles are the greatest thing ever. Oh,
Nope.
man. Allie did say you're a little odd, so that makes sense. Um, you like movies?
I do.
So what do you have a favorite movie?
Favorite movie. Well, I really like the Star Wars movies, and Revenge of the Sith is probably way up there. But favorite movie in general, oh, I don't know. That's a
I'll
hard
stop.
one.
I'll stop you right there. We're probably gonna have to hang out sometime and we'll just watch the whole Star Wars series. One of my favorite is it Rebel One or is it what's the one that would be the prequel to the first one? It's one of the Disney ones. I don't think it was
Rogue
released.
One.
Rogue One, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely love that one. And I think it's just because it leads directly into it. I love how they tied it all together.
Mhm.
But in 1976, when was released, that was the very first movie I went to at night
Oh.
with my family. So I've always watched Star Wars. My kids and I, anytime there was a Star Wars movie released, we went and watched it. So
Mhm.
I can't tell you all the different details of the movie. Some people really get into it. I can't do that, but I love those movies and stuff. So sometime we'll have to hang out and listen to 80s music and watch some Star Wars. That sounds like fun. Do you stream any TV shows?
Uh, Not really.
Not really.
I watch Mystery Science Theater 3000. That's
Okay.
like the most like TV show that I watch, and it's just robots riffing on old movies. So
Nice. Okay.
that's really it.
Any cartoons?
Oh,
Nope, you're not a cartoon person. All right.
uh,
All right. So, if you could pick anywhere in the world to go to on vacation, where would you go?
I would go to Alaska.
Ooh, that's
Just
a,
yep.
it's cold there, right?
I do know it's cold there, but I think it'd be so cool. I want to see the Northern Lights and just experience the Alaskan wilderness. So,
Yeah, I think Alaska is really cool. I would like to go up there. I have a guy I graduated with was in the military and he flew helicopters in Alaska. So he moved back, but he kept his house there. And every once in a while, I think they live back in Alaska now, but he'll send us Northern Lights pictures and stuff.
mhm.
Crazy, beautiful areas and wildlife is everywhere. Um, you have some really good coaches. We talked about that. Is there something that you are always going to hear that Allie said to you guys for the rest of your life? There's things that my coaches have said over the years that I will never forget. Is there something that you will always remember?
Well, I'll always remember her yelling off your knees. That's definitely a big one. If any of us are wrestling on her knees, you'll definitely hear her yell off your knees. Uh, I don't know. I mean, Allie's had a lot of good, like deep conversations, and you can tell that our wrestling affects her as well.
Hmm.
So I don't know if she sees it as like a mirror to how she does, but she's been very caring about wrestling. And every year before state, when we do our spaghetti toes and during that like time where it's off and the lights are still off, she comes and she talks to us individually and just gets us ready and tells us that we have everything we need in our toolbox for the next day or for the competition. And she just does a good job with that.
Yeah, like I said, I've learned a ton from her in just watching the way she reacts with you, interacts with you guys, and reacts. She definitely takes it to heart. She definitely takes every one of your guys' wins and losses to heart in something. So I'm hoping that maybe at some point in time that she's able to maybe not beat herself up about your guys' losses, that it's not her loss. She does a good job. Um, Coins flipped at second period. Your choice. What are you taking?
Neutral.
Neutral. Gotcha.
Yes.
So we're in the neutral position. What's our go-to takedown?
If it's not a throw, then it's a high crotch.
High crotch. Okay.
Yeah.
We're down. How am I getting away?
We're doing a sit out. It's
Okay.
definitely a sit out. A sit out to,
So
yeah, a reverse Granby.
okay. Gotcha. On top, what are we throwing? You're throwing legs in, aren't you?
Yeah, I throw it legs in sometimes.
Gotcha. Is that
Um,
your go-to or what's your favorite on
I'll
top?
definitely the bar arm. I'd say
Bar.
bar
Yeah.
arm. But yeah, spiral rides especially, and if I'm on bottom, also a quad pod. So
Gotcha. Pretty similar to what I teach also that and Allie even showed me on your guys's bar and grabbing that arm like that. That really worked out well. I like that. That's a good thing. You've done some freestyle. If you could choose folk style or freestyle, which way would you go?
freestyle, definitely.
Freestyle,
Yep.
because you don't have to get off the bottom.
I don't have to get off the bottom, and we restart at neutral. So
So you get your choice every time there's a
yep.
restart.
And
Nice.
I can get 4 points easy.
So if you got to be the head of the NFHS, the National Federation of High School, and you got to sit on the wrestling rules meeting and you get to make a choice and change any rule you want to change or make a rule in wrestling, either way, what would you do?
Definitely the step out point for folk style.
I
I
think
would
that's a
I would add that.
I think that is a great thing.
Yeah.
Um, I know watching you, and there's a lot of little girls around Cedar Falls and stuff that they look up to all the girls at Cedar Falls and yourself and being a place winner. But is there somebody that you watched other? I mean, you joined so late in life, but is there like did you watch a lot of YouTube videos on wrestling, or is there somebody that you really just looked up to and aspired to be as far as wrestling?
Not really. For the most part, I just wanted to make Allie and my dad proud. So, I mean, I actually watched a lot of my dad's old wrestling videos because they're out there online somewhere. I don't know. And
Yeah.
I watched his junior year and his senior year and kind of just going through seeing what he did. Um, and then watching a lot of like the prime Iowa guys like DeSanto and Lee. They were
Hmm.
pretty big. And then um, kind of in my last 2 years, junior, senior year, definitely Parker Keckeisen. There's just something about the way he wrestles that I really liked. And I mean, he's like the nicest guy ever. So,
Yeah, that's cool. Do you know him from kind of being in the area?
yep. I've met him
Cool.
a couple times, but yeah, I would definitely say he's one of the coolest wrestlers like out there. When you watch him wrestle, makes it look so easy, but you know how much work he's put in. So,
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the whole thing. It looks easy for those guys and for state champions, but man, there's a lot of work that goes into each and every one of those wins.
mhm.
Um, I've gotten through my whole list, and I always like to give. I'm going to give you an opportunity to have some final thoughts on whatever you'd like to talk about, and then we'll just call her good for the day. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Let's think here. I have to like think of what like would be a good talking point.
Whatever pops in your head.
Uh, well, I'd say for the sport of women's wrestling, I'd like to kind of go back with what I talked about earlier with having more females in the room. I'd have to say that for the next generation and like girls who are graduating or who are in college and are wrestling, to just get in the wrestling room and just be there for the next generation, just like the little girls and stuff. Because at AAU State, the girls that I was helping coach who were part of the TWC, the Tiger Wrestling Club, they just had guys as their coach, like old men, like
Like me.
yeah. It's it's such a different way to see how they react when there's a female in their corner and there's someone younger there to kind of help them out. Even though there are some young guys on the TWC team, it's not the same as having a female coach there. They reacted so differently to having me in their corner in comparison to one of the guys. I'm not sure like if it's just because they felt more comfortable around me or they could just relate more or maybe because I've been like I was a high school wrestler, but I think to just keep the sport of women's wrestling growing is to have women get back into the room and have them going back and helping out the communities and helping out the little girls that are coming up into the sport. I think it's going to be really impactful for them, especially if they're going to have someone to look up to. I know Allie was this huge pillar when she was in high school because she was one of the first girls to do it.
Yeah.
She was the first girl in history to win a state title. And there she was. She was 106 pounds. She was wrestling up against the boys from AGWSR, just this random school. And she was doing it with confidence and pride. So,
Yeah. I agree with you 100, 1,000, 1,000,000%. The more females we can get back into the sport, and you guys saved our sport, Anybody that doesn't understand that and agree with that, they're just wrong. The growth of wrestling has been huge since adding women to the end of it. I actually got to watch Allie win her first state title because I was at that meet. Didn't know her really then, and I coached against her prior to her. I think she was just starting at Cedar Falls, probably your freshman year of college and stuff. So I've known Allie a long time, but I haven't got to it over the last 3 years. I've gotten to be very good friends with her. So
mhm.
yeah, you're right. We need more females in the room. And the reason they react differently is because they can see themselves in you. Like you said, old guy like me, they don't react the same as to you. So I really enjoyed getting to know you better, April. It was really fun just to talk to you in a different way, and it was fun to compete against you, even though I didn't do so well this year and stuff against you. But that's all right. It's still fun competition. So I appreciate it. I will talk to you later.
Yeah, thank you.